Combat mistakes Don't Starve players make. Combat is really simple in Don't Starve, so most of these may be obvious, but some might not be. Number 1. Wearing the wrong armor or no armor. Generally, I'll see newer players using log and grass suits, which are really weak armor because they're expensive, and take up the body slot. They'll also usually use it in combination with a backpack, which can cause them to lose the backpack, have the backpack and the items burn, or they won't have items they need to fight the enemies off because it's stuck in the bag on the ground. Let's just make this simple. There are two pieces of armor that I really like. First, the football helmet. Cheap to craft, just takes one pigskin and one rope. Usually I'll collect a ton of pigskin by hammering pig houses or pig heads. This gives 80% damage resistance, and I basically just wear it at all times so that I'm safe even if a monster sneaks up on me. And this is just the helmet that you want basically all the time, and the other one is situational. The second piece of armor I like is the Thulecite crown, which requires you to go to the ruins. It's very expensive, costing 4 Thulecite and 4 nightmare fuel, but it has 90% damage resistance. Now you might be thinking, that's only 10% more damage resistance for an item that's harder to get. Sure, you're correct, but that actually means that it's twice as effective. I'm now taking 10% of the damage dealt to me instead of 20%. It also has more durability and a special power. 33% of the time when you get hit, it will summon an invincibility bubble for 4 seconds. During this time, it will absorb 100% of damage, along with 5% of damage taken being converted towards damage to your sanity. This invincibility is very important because you won't get stunned when hit with it, so you can use it to deal more damage per second or to get out of sticky situations. Keep in mind, this isn't true invulnerability. The crown can still break if it runs out of durability. The invincibility bubble also provides light, so you'll not need to worry about Charlie damaging you while your crown is giving you invulnerability. Hey, real quick, like and subscribe. Number 2, this goes hand in hand with number 1, not using a suitable weapon. Generally, I'll see newer players using spears, which once again are really weak. They do very low damage at 34 per hit, compared to weapons you can get in a similar amount of time. Now sure, if you find one by a boon somewhere on the map before you even have science, go ahead and use it. Not a big deal. Otherwise, you want one of these weapons. Tentacle Spike. Dropped by tentacles in the swamp, they deal 51 damage a hit and have 100 uses. If you happen to find one in early game, they make a great early weapon. Handbat. 1 pigskin, 2 sticks, 2 meat to craft. This is my general use weapon. It deals 59.5 damage while at full freshness and decays to a minimum of 29.75 damage over a period of 10 days right before it rots. It has infinite durability, and instead of durability has a 10-day spoilage period. Normally I'll make a new one every 3 to 5 in-game days depending on how much combat I'm doing, and craft a brand new one before fighting raid bosses or even normal bosses. It's pretty cheap and perfect for an extremely aggressive playstyle like mine. Dark Sword. This takes a shadow manipulator, so it's a later game item. 1 living log and 5 nightmare fuel to craft it. It deals 68 damage a hit and has 100 uses. It also drains 20 sanity a minute while equipped. Dark Swords can be a pain to use for an extremely aggressive playstyle due to the amount of inventory space they take up. You'll need 2 or 3 even as Wolfgang if you want to take down a raid boss, but the higher damage is super nice. Also note, this weapon should be used cautiously while fighting the Ancient Fuel Weaver. While it does have very high DPS, it drains sanity, and if you are insane while fighting the Ancient Fuel Weaver, he can use his mind control attack on you. Thulecite Club. This weapon is very situational, but it has its uses. The Thulecite Club costs 3 living logs, 4 Thulecite, and 4 nightmare fuel to build at a full Ancient Pseudoscience station. It deals 59.5 damage per hit, and has 200 uses. It has 2 special powers. First, it increases movement speed while equipped by 10%. The walking cane gives 25% for comparison. Second, it has a 20% chance to summon a shadow tentacle minion each hit, which deals 34 damage and has 500 HP. Generally, this item is very good in early game if you're runes rushing, and don't get a lazy explorer from the Ancient Guardian, which is a 9% chance, or a rare walking cane boon, which is in 4% of world. It's a poor man's walking cane until winter, although this requires you to bring living logs on your runes rush, which isn't always viable. It's also good for fighting the Ancient Fuel Weaver. It doesn't drain sanity, and the Shadow Tentacle can be used to stop the Fuel Weaver for an extra half a second or so when he goes invulnerable, which can be really important to give you a head start. Clay buffed this weapon earlier this year from 150 uses to 200 uses to make it more viable, which was a great change. But they still haven't noticed the only reason the weapon is seen as bad in most situations is because it's bugged. The Shadow Tentacle only attacks once, even though it's supposed to last for 9 seconds. It could deal hundreds of damage in the original Don't Starve, but in DST, it deals a maximum of 34. I think if Klee would fix this bug, we'd see a lot more players using this weapon, especially against stationary enemies like Antlion and while tanking other bosses. Number 3, not kiting. Most new players don't even know this is a thing. Basically, you attack an enemy, step back, they miss, then go back in and hit them again. Each enemy has a specific amount of hits you can ideally get in between. Here's a few examples. Deerclops, 3 hits then dodge. His ice animation is significantly further than his actual attack range, and his attack's hitbox is actually a circle around him. Beefalo, 6 hits, then dodge. You actually can do 7, but it's tick perfect, so even I can't do that consistently. Maybe you could do that every time if you're a robot. Spiders, those are stun lockable, so you can actually just keep attacking and they won't even hit back. Basically, you want to do this when you don't have enough armor or supplies and need to stretch those supplies thin. Number 4, not tanking. Some advanced players get kiting stuck in their head and seem to forget that tanking is often the best combat method. You can deal more damage per second while tanking, and if you use the right supplies that are quick to gather, you'll operate more efficiently. For instance, if I'm going to the ruins, I'm not going to try and kite the clockwork knights and rooks that are difficult to kite and quite random 90% of the time. I will dig up blue mushrooms and have a pile of football helmets in my backpack, taking damage basically null at that point. This can also help save sanity, especially during things like boss battles. Deerclops drain sanity really fast, for instance, so if you kill him faster, it saves more sanity. This is especially important for the Ancient Fuel Weaver battle because he can stun you while you're insane. Now, if you're using blue mushrooms to tank, that's certainly not going to help your sanity out. So I'm talking about if you're basically just using armor or using some more normal healing foods. Number 5, not getting close enough to enemies you are attacking. Certain enemies will kite you or just keep running away, so they can be hard to get a hit in if you don't get close before you attack. If all you do is spam Ctrl+F or click on the enemy to attack them, you'll swing as soon as your attack range is in range of their hitbox. On a moving target, this can result in missing a lot of attacks because by the time your attack would actually land, they're out of your range again. You'll want to get closer than the minimum attack range for killing butterflies, pigmen, and a couple other mobs. I'll end this with a few quick combat tips. The F key attacks the closest hostile mob to you. Ctrl+F attacks the closest neutral or hostile mob, and Alt+F attacks the closest neutral, hostile, or allied mob. So if you want to kill a pig you fed meat, that's how you would do that. Control will also let you attack even without a weapon in your hand if you want to punch something. This is useful for killing butterflies, primarily as they have 1 HP. Although I will say, punching is actually a slower attack than wearing basically anything in your hand. So it can be a little bit harder to hit butterflies with just punching. And that's all for this video. Leave a like and subscribe for more. It helps me out a lot. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.